let's do it. We're going to go live. We are live. Welcome everyone to our Success Mastermind for Thursday, the 25th of August, 2022. John Lavenia here with you, and I'm excited to talk with you a little bit today about what I'm calling "Do Enough and Do It Now." All right, there is the sound. Okay, good. Do enough and do it now. So yesterday we got to hear from Glenn and myself about kind of the idea of taking the value that you receive and that you recognize that you could bring, and actually bringing it forth, right? How did Glenn call it? To do thou onward something. He used old English with that. But the thing that's coming up for me today is something that I think we could all experience, and if you haven't been conscious of it, you should be conscious of it. Anybody ever heard the concept of too little, too late? Okay, so here is a person who has been a smoker, let's say. All right, so here's the scenario. They have been damaging their own health for years or decades, and neglecting or avoiding confronting the whole idea that they are in fact degrading themselves. And one day they go to the hospital, and now they're told you got 6 months to live and whatever, and so they decide to turn their life around. Okay, and just based on that impact of, hey, we're late in the game here, they have a newfound interest, and they've relieved themselves of a lot of the indecision or avoidance and whatever, because now they've got kind of like a do or die situation. And it either works or it doesn't, right? We've heard about tremendous, transformations that the person was near death and now they're in peak health and stuff like that. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is, like I mentioned, too little, too late, right? So what's the answer? If we're facing, and hopefully it's not like a life or death, health situation, okay, but we all face opportunities, right? Opportunities show up for us, whether we confront them or not, whether we accept them or not. Opportunities for growth and advancement come up, and if we are in a state of, it's not so bad, good enough, whatever, right? Then we could easily put off or neglect or avoid those opportunities for advancement, even if our intent is, as all living organisms, increase, right? Expansion, fuller expression, if that's our intent. And yet, I guess what we'll call laziness, right? If laziness is more pleasing to us than digging in, getting elbow deep, getting our hands dirty and getting a bit uncomfortable, then we also get to face where that wall, right? Because the runway is only so long. We get to ultimately confront that wall, whether we want to or not. So here's the thing. I have, as I think a lot of you know, a high-level coaching program where I get to work with business builders, people who are looking to create, courses and programs and things like this. And a lot of times the people I talk to are, number one, attempting to go it alone with their own best thinking, which only gets them so far. And secondly, and this is very interesting, avoiding what I'll call the out points. Okay, so here's a simple question, because we want to quantify. We want to see, all right, what can we address? What can we improve? So let's start with something like, in the area of business, let's start with something like leads. How many leads did you generate in the past month, let's say? Well, I'm not quite sure. Well, I did that, and they kind of dance around rather than just throwing out the statistic. Here is the number. Not only do they not know, okay, and we can't improve a statistic if it's an unknown, right? We could only improve what we could track, right? But then there's all the justifications and being reasonable about it, right? To kind of ease the discomfort of practiced avoidance in that area for so long. Okay, so maybe that's been an out point, but how about this other point in the business? Well, and again, more hemming and hawing, more avoidance, more unwillingness to confront what is. Okay, ultimately, right, that runway is only so long. Ultimately, that leads to having to see the wall. Well, how much longer is this runway? Like, how much longer can you continue doing or applying the strategy or non-strategy, lack of strategy that has gotten you to this point? Like, how much more runway do you have here? So this is kind of like a come to Jesus sort of a conversation, right? Where people are, perhaps for the first time, ripping off a Band-Aid and saying, you know what, I've been saying it's not so bad. It's friggin' awful. I got to do something, right? But here's the point with all this. Well, if we're going to engage with correct orders of magnitude, if we're going to put in the correct amount of effort to overwhelm and overcome a problem, right? If we're going to do that and we're going to do it in time, then we've also got to get really clear about the baseline where we're starting from. There's a saying that people don't buy the solution if they don't buy the problem. Right. So if we're in denial about something, like the example I gave you before with the guy, the smoker, right, who's in denial about emphysema or whatever is the outcome of that. Well, if they don't buy that this is self-destruction, well, then they're not going to buy the solution of change your ways, get on a fitness program, start, breathing clean air and eating vegetables and, whatever I'm not the doctor. Okay. But right. If no sale here, then no sale here, which again could lead to that too little, too late kind of scenario. So what I'm offering you today is an opportunity to do enough and to do it now in whatever area of life, right? I've had to confront this for myself, right? Every opportunity we have to advance in life and business and whatever, every opportunity that is presented to us is also an opportunity to say no to other things. We've talked about this before, this idea of opportunity cost. Okay, so here's Sally, and Sally is going to be, she's decided, you see, that she is going to be a great painter. Great. So that means she also decided she's not going to be a great astronaut, and she's decided that she is not going to be a nun. Actually, I guess some nuns are painters, but you get the point, right? Is that if I'm going to excel here, then that also means that there must be boundaries where I'm going to say no to these other things. In fact, Emerson said, in every act of genius, we can see our own rejected thoughts, right? I cannot paint like Sally. I rejected that opportunity, but my goodness, I can do things that on my path, right, with my purposes and my goals that Sally could never do. Fine. But the point is to pick a path and to do it early enough in the process and at a great, with great magnitude that you actually accomplish something of note. So, because here's, I think the last thing anybody wants is regret. Okay, so I'm saying this as a person who's read and listened to so much, books and lectures and everything about how people who are workaholics, nobody on their deathbed says, "Oh, I wish I would have worked more." Okay. And that's an argument for, well, relationships, family's the most important thing. Okay, I get it. That's also part of the experience. However, what do we spend? I mean, if you're actively involved in your own advancement through life, right? What do we spend probably 80% of our waking hours doing? Work, hopefully, right? What is work? On purpose action. So does anybody in their deathbed say, oh, I wish I wouldn't have fulfilled as much of my purpose as possible? No, nobody says that. So the argument of like the motivational people who tell you, don't put so much focus on work because nobody on their deathbed says, I wish I would have worked more. That's not the whole story. What if on your deathbed, you said, I am so glad I seized the moment, each successive moment, I made the most of each opportunity. Yes, I see outpoints. I see things that I could have done better. I'm not perfect, okay, but damn it, I took the swing. I did it. Versus, man, I really tiptoed through life, hoping to make it safely to my deathbed, and here I am. Too little, too late. Bob Proctor said, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up way too much space. So do enough and do it now. I mean, when would now be a good time to do it? Do what? Well, whatever's on your mind right now, whatever just came up for you, the thing of neglect or avoidance, or the thing where you've half measured, hedged, maybe indecisive, right? All that, right? So engage for real now, or disengage for real now. But maybe it's crazy, right? I recently have been studying some pretty heavy duty philosophy on this. The idea that a person could go through life in a chronic state of maybe an indecision, while it sounds horrifying to me, and it should, it's not uncommon. In fact, in Napoleon Hill's, I think it was his last book, that wasn't even published until he and his wife was dead because she objected. It was too controversial. You can't publish this. Anyway, the Napoleon Hill Foundation published Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil. And we've talked about this briefly. The premise of the book is that Hill mocked up this conversation with Satan, and he's wrestling mentally with the devil, trying to extract the secrets about how lives are ruined and all this. And so finally the devil comes clean and says, if I could get a man to drift through life in a state of chronic indecision, I've beaten him. Horrifying to me. Horror. All of the external, outer, physical world horrors, right? They're pretty horrible, okay? But imagine, and this may sound like a heavy trip, okay? But this is what's coming through me today. Imagine living in a prison of your own making. Okay, now imagine, or have the consideration, if you will, that you actually have been living in a prison of your own making. Every time we don't decide, every time we don't reach, every time we hold ourselves back, or we withhold our talents and abilities from mankind, we are, in effect, demonstrating how imprisoned we are. Now, let me build that on the foundation of good ethics, right? If you're a sociopath, right, then please withhold, please hold yourself back. Okay. Any sociopaths with us here in our conversation today? Okay, that's good. And some people say, well, if I was a sociopath, would I know it? If you were a sociopath, you wouldn't have the consideration about asking yourself if you were a sociopath. Right. So the fact that you're able to ask yourself, am I doing good? Am I doing right? Proves that you're not a sociopath. You're good. Okay. So just in case, I don't want to leave anybody in a maybe on that one. Right. If you've got ethical considerations, you get my vote. Okay. You're good. I will tell you that there are people with no ethical considerations and they don't get my vote. They get other people's votes. Right. Because people are easy to mislead when they have no education, when they have no awareness, when they're also unable to confront facts, reality, things like that, right? So in this case, since you are willing to confront your own state of morals and ethics and integrity, right? Then we could say that you're a good investment. Okay, so that's good. Well, then to what end are you investing your time, your talents, your studies, right? Your actual investments of money, learning stuff, building businesses, right? To what end? And I think if you have a definite purpose in mind and you have definite decision and principles backing that up, then there's no apologies for reaching boldly, for operating at what I would call correct orders of magnitude, and for doing that now and now and now, right? Lest you find yourself in a situation of too little, too late. So do enough and do it now. And how much is enough? I don't know. Look at the statistics. I can tell you I've had plenty of things where I thought I was operating with correct, power and magnitude. And you know what? Wrong target, not enough. Subtle little indecisions in there. Think of it like this. If you were to back to the example of the smoking guy and the emphysema and all this, right? He goes to the doctor and the doctor tells him in no uncertain terms, you'll be dead in 6 months if you keep going like this. This is what you must do. Here's my diagnosis. Here is my directive. Here are your instructions. And with that level of certainty, that communication occurs, okay? And here's the question. Now, does the doctor get into negotiations, debates, Q&A? No. I mean, the doctor's sold. The doctor knows, right? That's a state of knowingness. And so the force or the magnitude of that communication to the person who has been destroying their body for however long, there's a definiteness to that. And the delivery and the way it's received is totally different than the person who is thinking, well, maybe you could try this, maybe you could do that. I'm asking you to get to a point of definiteness so that you can communicate not only with yourself and give yourself directives, but you can give other people directives like the doctor does, that you can diagnose a problem, you can provide a solution, and hopefully for their sake, they buy it. But you're not hoping, This is, I would say, one of the main points of differentiation between the people who have a legacy to leave, something of note that they've accomplished, maybe many things of note, versus, as Earl Nightingale said, those timid creatures of the lagoon that never venture into the broad ocean beyond, right? Too little, too late. Which would you like to be known as? Because look, you only have so much time. And somebody's going to say something at your funeral. What are they going to say? Here's an affirmation we haven't covered in a long time, which I will remind you of, and you can take it as your own if you like. I dare to make an ass of myself. The book that we're wrapping up this in our book study group is the How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. That's the topic that we're on. How to stop worrying. In other words, living in a maybe, a projected potential outcome that doesn't exist and probably won't, because you're conscious and you're confronting the situation, you're doing something about it in advance, right? All these considerations, all this internal Q&A about whatever, it's all maybes. It's insanity. Here's what we do. let's assess, let's take inventory, and we'll say, all right, so here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to go in this area of my life. Let's say, for example, fitness. Okay. So here's where I'm at. Here's my statistics, weight, body fat percentage, endurance, right? You can get on the treadmill and see how far you can run or whatever, right? So you take some measurements, right? So here is some data. Great. And here's the ideal scene. Here is data that I have intended to see at some point after right now, because the future is coming, right? So now there's the gap. All right, now let's just think objectively about this for a minute. Okay, does anybody else have those kind of statistics, those kind of results? Yes. Great. What do they do to get those kind of results? Well, they eat, raw or lightly cooked vegetables with at least 2 meals a day. So put that on your to-do list. That is a decision. It's not a maybe anymore. And you write it down. And here's something I can do that is on purpose and workable. That's nice, right? Not just guessing. And now I have an inventory, right? And that's item number one. What's another thing I can put on the list? Semi-strenuous exercise 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes. So what could that be? It could be, running around the block, assuming you do have all the modern conveniences of, like air, gravity, planet. Well, then, a body, right? Then you could do this. You don't need any other equipment. Run, do it. By the way, light is fast and fast is light. I've noticed, okay? And this isn't a judgment statement. This is just something I've noticed, is that when I'm in the gym, let's say I'm lifting weights over here, and then there's like all the cardio equipment over there, I noticed a very interesting pattern is that people who are obviously overweight are slower on the machinery than the people who are more fit. They tend to go faster on the machinery. So light is fast and fast is light. I'm thinking cause and effect, right? Now, perhaps the person who's very overweight, right? They, that's all the energy they got, and it's pretty slow. Okay, but the more they add to their speed, the lighter they get, and the faster they get, right? So just food for thought. I was just noticing, and just physics, right? Physics. I know a lot about firearms, right? So let's say you got 9mm and you got 45 ACP, right? So 9mm is a smaller, lighter bullet, and it goes fast. 45 ACP is a bigger, heavier bullet, and it goes slower, just based on the power to weight ratio. Okay. Tangent, I know, but I'm finding workability and truthfulness in what I'm attempting to convey to you here today. So these are things I could do. I could do, again, on a gradient, right? I could do the half hour 3 times a week, or the 10 minutes 6 days a week, or, right? I mean, any of it is infinitely better than sitting around eating bonbons or whatever people eat, like any of it. So get on the on-ramp, right? There's the mountain. Okay, you're at the trailhead. Well, get on the trailhead. Friggin' do it. I remember taking a course from, this is actually just an interview I was listening to from a great guitarist. And there were these 2 guitarists talking, and the one was interviewing the other about how they became great and all this. And one of the things that he said was that, we got a lot of listeners here who probably want to be guitar rock stars and whatever, who are buying guitar magazines and guitar equipment and looking at the next guitar they want to buy and everything but putting their hands on the guitar. He said the improvometer goes up when your hands are on the guitar. Too simple. Right? But all the cool amplification and gear in the world isn't going to make you suck less, right? The golfers I know have gone through this, right? Oh, it's the clubs, right? Oh, you need to go spend another $1,000. No, you friggin' don't. You suck, right? I mean, give Tiger Woods your so-called crappy clubs, and he's going to crush. So all we need to do is do enough and do it now. And then, you know what? These clubs are just fine. Maybe I'll get some new club. Who cares? Whatever. I'm crushing it, right? Or this guitar. You know, Eddie Van Halen, the late Eddie Van Halen. He died. Was it a year or two ago? He left the planet, but considered one of the great innovators of rock guitar, right? He was he actually like carved out his own hole in the body of the guitar to put the pickup in. He just kind of screwed it in. He was going out to a session or something. He took the Frankenstein guitar. If anyone could picture in your mind, here's Eddie Van Halen. Here's the red guitar with the white stripes going in all different directions around it, right? It was kind of like a homemade job. Famous guitar, priceless. There's one in the whole world. He kind of made it by hand. He threw it in the back of his pickup truck. Threw it like, right? So, but he could make music out of that thing. Did he do enough? Yeah. I'm still talking about him. Guy's been dead for however long. Man, I think the last Van Halen album I bought. Do we have any Van Halen fans? They were like my favorite band in elementary school. I had the shirt. Fair warning, right? Van Halen. Oh my goodness. I had the shirt, the jersey, it's black here, and it has the white sleeves that go down to about here. I don't know if they had that in Australia or England, but yeah. And I joined the fan club. What was the last album I ever bought from them? 1984. That was the name of the album and the year it came out, as it occurs. But 1984. But man, did they make their mark. And then, like most rock acts, craziness and stupidity, and David Lee Roth, and his ego is bigger than the planet. Anyway. What are people going to say about you when your time's up? I guess that's the question. And again, I've kind of been on like a Steve Covey trip lately with, 7 Habits and the legacy, right? He talks about, here's the speech at your funeral, right? If you guys recall, if you've read the book, right? We've done it in our book study group. You have a dream, right? You're going to a funeral and the person talking, and then finally you see who's in the box. Oh, it's you, right? So that's the exercise, right? Is that you consider what will be your legacy. And he says you pick 3 people, right? So a relative, a close friend, a coworker or something, right? And so you pick 3 people to speak at your own funeral in your mind. And what do they say? Maybe not a fun exercise, but I'll tell you, it'll probably get you off your ass. If that's what you've been demonstrating up to this point, is avoidance and too little. I'm in a place right now, not physically, okay, but I'm in a place of transition right now with some stuff. We made a huge announcement yesterday. We just launched Brand Builder AI. We've got our right now we just did like an impromptu for the next 4 days, in fact, a challenge showing people how to get off their ass and create some digital assets so they can start bringing in leads and sales and customers and growing their lists and their notoriety in the marketplace, right? And so I have found myself in a state of high level of action, new action, different action, things that I'm thinking, well, you know what, I could have done more of this kind of stuff yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, but that would have caused me to say no to these other things. So again, I think the last thing any of us want as the fruit of our efforts is regret. So carpe diem. Seize the carp. That's what we got to do. Seize that damn carp. I love you guys. Any thoughts on what just came out of my brain, or through it anyway? Oh, and I see you guys on YouTube. Feel free to leave a comment. Good to see you here as well. Any thoughts from our live attendees here today? I know some of you are turning over new leaves, beginning new efforts, making new decisions. Okay. Hey, Lynn.
Oh, Yeah, I had a fairly frustrating day today, actually, because I couldn't put my stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll be back.
We're so used to it now. That's fine.
I'm sorry. They're actually in another room.
That's fine.
Yeah, I couldn't get my stuff up online, and it's all broken, and it's just been damn frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So what you were sort of saying about, not doing enough, and I really felt like, well, I actually had I have got, and it was just that it won't stop it, but it was like I had kind of like it was all sort of supposed to, so I've got some time off work, but it was sort of supposed to start.
Mm-hmm.
That's the door they're banging on. I'm really sorry. I just couldn't get anything done, and it just threw me. And what you've been saying is kind of really like, in terms of it, it's basically summed up my day. It's just been, I haven't done enough, and I couldn't do enough because of computers.
Okay, well, if you're getting stopped then by technology, then who can you contact to say, you know what, this is broken? Or I mean, again, this is part of reaching. This is part of, a definite effort, right? So now if people don't deliver what they're supposed to deliver, well, then that's a problem. So I don't know what you're referring to as far as your e-commerce technology. Amazon or something is broke. I don't know. I don't know what you're referring
to. Gear bubble.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I know what that is. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Here's the ultimate sucky situation is an unsolvable problem. An unsolvable problem. So I'm thinking maybe look elsewhere for fulfillment. If it's an unsolvable problem. Yeah. So, and for those who have no idea or have no context on what Lynn just said, that word, that is a recurring, chronic, never-ending conversation for people who use that service. Okay. Thanks, Lynn. If nothing else, let me acknowledge you and validate that. Sounds like you've got an unsolvable problem. How long are you going to stay stopped with that? I don't know. How long could anybody stay stopped with anything? That is friggin' maddening. I like done. I don't like unsolvable problems. Nobody does. Okay. I like done. Okay. Anybody else? We got Daisy at over. We got Virginia's here. Captain's here. All right, guys. I don't see any other hot mics. So do enough. Do it now. And then tomorrow, or even tonight, right? You could even take inventory of that. And please do. Doesn't have to be a big formal thing, although you could grab a journal or whatever. And you could say, done, and acknowledge yourself as a high integrity person. You gave yourself a directive and you did it, right? No regrets.